doing, Walt?
Hi, baby. Well, here we are on Twin Dragon Ranch out here in New Mexico. And I'm starting a little do-it-yourself project for Teresa. I got this old 4-foot plastic fold-up table that Teresa needs. A table and a... What I've done is I had an old piece of leftover CDX plywood. CDX means that it's construction grade. It's nothing special, nothing fancy. So I cut it to size. I've sanded it, gave it a rough sanding just to get the ink off it more than anything else. And we're going to mount this board onto the top of that table. We're going to stain it up and make it presentable. And this is going to become Teresa's folding desk table. So anytime we need it for a holiday, which we always need extra tables, we can fold it up, bring it downstairs, and use it for our pies, cookies, and all the other goodies that Teresa makes for our holidays. So that's where we are right now. The next step, we got some of this 3/4 inch lath stripping, and I'm going to sand this off, cut it, and attach it to the edges just to give it a nice clean finished look. Make it more of a table affair than just a hunk of plywood. You don't need one as fancy as this, but you need to be able to have a flat surface to work with when you're cutting up your boards and your lumber, and this is just an awesome tool. I love it. Okay, so this is another one of the beauties of my table saw, is I can preset my blade at a 45-degree angle. And again, what that does is when I join them together at a corner on the plywood, there'll be a 45-degree angle there. That'll give me a nice clean angled seam there instead of just lapping it over and butting it up to itself. This is just a little piece that I trimmed off, but because they're 45-degree angles, you're going to end up with a 90. So I'll move my good piece I want kept, to the edge, and when I have the next one cut, it's going to have this 45-degree angle, so that when I slide them together, you're going to have a nice little joint there. What you see here is I've cut out all my trim pieces. I've got the angles on them that I want. My joints on the front and back, I had to join two boards, so I also cut them at 45s so that when they come together, it'll just give it a nicer, smoother finish and probably a stronger finish. Now, as a lot of you have already recognized, I am not a cabinet type carpenter. I'm a barn builder. More about expediency, getting it done, getting it in place. So a couple of things, I won't keep a lot of your time, I just want to tell you a couple of pointers here. Before you try to attach one of these boards to the plywood, make sure you drill a pilot hole first. What that's going to do, it's going to prevent this board from splitting when you attach it with your little fine finishing nail. Especially closer to the ends, because it'll split this little board every time. Another trick that I did learn from some real carpenters is I'll keep my finishing nails in my mouth. And what that does for it is it lubricates that nail so that when it goes through the hole and into the plywood, it's not as likely to split. And because this is plywood, I'm going to back up my little boards with a little bit of carpenter's glue. As I said, I'm only going to use a little bit of glue. Another advantage to the sunlight is I can really see these joints and where they come together. So I'm going to put this in place. going to start with one nail. I always use a little nail set. Just protects your wood, and they're fairly cheap, any hardware store. By tapping it down like that, what it lets me do is when I'm all done, I'll go over the whole thing and sand it, and this just recesses the nail head a little bit. Get to keep them in my mouth. Okay, so I got all my trim on. I should have pointed out to you that when you drill your pilot holes through this light 1/4 inch trim board, only drill through the trim board. Don't push it all the way into the plywood, because plywood is layers. So when the nail goes into those layers, you really don't want a pilot hole there. You want the nail to grab it. So when you drill, and it's not critical, but just don't drill any much deeper than the trim board. That's pretty much it. You can see the joints aren't too bad. So what I'm going to do next is, after I give that glue a little bit of time to dry, I'll go over and sand the whole thing. I'll sand these corners smooth, and by the time I get the stain on it and a little poly over that stain, it'll be a fine joint. It'll look good. Okay, well, here we are. A couple days later. We had some bad weather, so now I'm back out in the sunshine. I'm just putting a light maple stain on my plywood. This is the back side. I've always been taught that whatever you treat one side of wood with, you should treat both sides. So that's why I'm doing the underside first. Then I'll turn it over, clean it up real good with a little air compressor, and I'll stain the top side. As you can see, I've already put my side moldings, they're all on and in place. I had to do a little touch up with some wood putty just to give it a little better appearance. You two, I don't need your help. This is very high-tech work. I don't need cow help when I'm doing high-tech. And I don't need bull help either. So you guys need to go out in the pasture and get yourself some dinner or breakfast.
Hey, Rastus.
Rasty man, don't pick your head up.
Come on. Send the babies away.
Come on, go away. Thank you. Go play with your sister. No, Mama doesn't want you either. Not not now. It's not cold time. It's go to work time. Don't throw your head at me. Go away.
He's back.
Resty man, you need to go out in the pasture. I don't need your help. Do you hear me? I don't need your stinking help, hon. Go out in the pasture with the girls. I'm not fighting with you. I'm trying to be nice. Go on. You're just a bull. Bulls don't belong in the yard. Don't you know? Bulls belong in the pasture. with the girls. Now go on. Go. Go, 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 go. Go on.
Come on, come away from Daddy's work. Come on out.
Okay, this is the top side, the finished side. So I'm just going to blow it off with a little compressed air to get the old sawdust out of it. So I'll get the odd edges first, and then I'll go over the whole top with the grain. Stain really brings out the grain in your wood. Darker and lighter, and to me it makes a really pretty finish. When I'm done with all of this, I'll put on a spray coat of polyurethane. That'll just kind of help seal everything in place, give it a little bit smoother finish because it's just a construction grade plywood that I've sanded. It dries really fast out here in the sunshine, so I think I can safely handle it in probably 20 to 30 minutes. I like to go back and check my edges because as you go with stain, it's so light and thin, a lot of times it'll leave a drip along your trim, and we don't want that. Okay, I've put a light coat of polyurethane on top of this, just a spray can. It's dry, it's beyond tacky, so I can go ahead and work with this now. So I want to show you what I did over here. Taken my table, and just for my own reference, I put some black marks on where I want these bolts to come. They'll come down through the top, of course, but they'll sit right here. And I chose that because it's a reinforced spot in the table. So what I'll do next is I'll take a small pilot drill and I'll drill a hole through here in each of the 4 places. Then I'll turn my table over. I will center this table on the bottom of it, and I'll take that pilot drill and mark my wood. And then I'll go through all of my smaller pilot holes in both the table and in my tabletop, and I'll cut them out to 1/4 inch with another drill. Then I'll just push these down through, attach them on the bottom with wide washers to hold it in place, and then I'll go ahead and put a nut on top of that and tighten it down. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just turn this tabletop over so that the finished part will be down. Then I will center my plastic table on this, and I'll go ahead and follow through with those pilot holes and drill through the wood. Once I get my table in place, I just take my tape measure and make sure that it's square to the wooden part of the top of the table. My tabletop is square to my table. So now I'm just going to run my drill down through those pilot holes and through the wood, and then I can go back with a 1/4 inch drill, which I'll use from the top side of the table to avoid splinters, and drill back down through. You can see how it's splintered coming through with just that little 1/16 inch. We want to avoid that. So that's why I'm going to drill from the top down. They're still raised up a little bit, so I'm just going to take a hammer and tap them down so that the face of this bolt is flush with my tabletop. Tighten it from the bottom side, they'll even more. Okay, I turned my table over so you can see the mold sticking through now. Now, if everything went right, this plastic table bottom will fall right over those bolts. You can see them. On the bottom of that table, I'm going to use these big round 1/4-inch washers, and I like to use what I have around the ranch laying around. So I found these self-locking nuts, which will save me from having to use a lock washer on the bottom side. So we're pretty close to there. Nuts, bolts, and washers are in place. We're going to open up the legs. And there you have it. Went from an ugly little white table to a little better looking wood top table. Teresa can use for her desk or whatever she wants, which we're working on next. You can use this like we showed you at any time.